The Detroit Lions are getting written off by a league they dominated 12 months ago. Back-to-back NFC North titles, 15 regular season wins, a top 5 offense. None of it matters to the national take right now. 1-9-8 finish, and suddenly the Lions are a fluke. The truth sits on the opposite side. This team fell apart with half its roster in the injury report, 2 coordinators walking out the door, and a starting center retiring at the worst possible point in the calendar. And the league still thinks Detroit is the team to fade. Here's what sits on the roster going into the draft. Jared Goff still starts under center. Jahmyr Gibbs still runs the backfield. Penei Sewell still anchors the offensive line. Aiden Hutchinson still leads the pass rush. Dan Campbell still runs the building, but the coaching staff around him looks nothing like the one winning 15 games a season ago. Ben Johnson took the head coaching job in Chicago. Aaron Glenn took the head coaching job with the Jets. Drew Petzing walked in as the new offensive coordinator. Kelvin Shepard got promoted to defensive coordinator from inside the building. And right before training camp, Frank Ragnow retired. One of the most important interior linemen in football. Gone. After free agency, after the draft, after there was no way to fix it. The rest of this breakdown unpacks everything the mainstream take misses. The injury storm no defense in the league had to survive. The retirement timing, killing the run game. The Drew Petzing reset. The tackle hole left behind by Taylor Decker. The Daniel Jeremiah intel on pick 17, the Lions front office has not denied. The trade back math from Brad Holmes. The edge rusher board at pick 50. The day 3 sleepers fitting the Dan Campbell mold. And the final record prediction the rest of the NFC North does not want to hear. Detroit is not broken. Detroit is loading up. The first crack in the story starts with a defense never allowed to play at full strength. But before we get into that, hit that like and subscribe button for more Lions and all the NFL content. Let's aim for 500 likes on this video. Pull up the Detroit Lions injury report from last season and the picture stops making sense. Almost every name worth building a defense around spent time on the sideline. Aiden Hutchinson was still working his way back from that brutal leg fracture. Alex Anzalone missed key stretches in the middle of the year. Brian Branch fought through nagging secondary issues. Kirby Joseph got hit with a major injury nobody saw coming. DJ Reader was limited on the interior. Levi Onwuzurike kept running into the same injury history that has followed him his entire career. That is not a defense underperforming. That is a defense that barely existed. Here's the part the national coverage skipped. This was year 2 of the same problem. 2 straight seasons of injuries landing on the exact position group Detroit needed, healthy the most. Every team in the league deals with injuries. No team in the league deals with this many, in the same room, in back-to-back years. One Lions fan put the question out there, and it is fair to ask, is it bad luck? Is it the drafting profile? Is it the medical staff? The honest answer is probably closer to pure variance than anyone wants to admit. The law of averages says a run this bad cannot stretch into a 3rd season. If it does, something deeper is wrong. If it does not, this defense looks like a completely different unit on day 1. Layer in the departure of Marcus Davenport from the edge rotation, and the thinness shows up before a single snap. Detroit was trying to hold the line with backups, stacked on top of backups. Judging this defense on production without adjusting for availability is like judging a team's offense with 3 quarterbacks on injured reserve. The talent was never the issue. The field count was. Which brings up the other half of the collapse nobody connected the dots on. There is a timeline inside Detroit's offensive line story that changes the entire read on last season. Frank Ragnow did not retire in February. He did not retire in March. He retired after free agency had already closed. He retired after the draft was already over. He retired with veteran free agents already signed to other teams and training camp about to start. One of the best centers in football walked away at the single worst moment for a front office trying to replace him. Compare that to Chicago losing Drew Dahlman earlier in the cycle with a runway to plan around it. Detroit never got that runway. The downstream damage hit every spot on the line. Graham Glasgow slid over to play center. Christian Mahogany opened the year as the starting left guard, a second-year lineman who barely played as a rookie. Tate Ratledge started at right guard as a true rookie straight out of Georgia. Two brand new interior starters with a converted center between them. That is not a line built to push the pile. That is a line hanging on every snap. And the production showed it. Week 1 against Green Bay, the Lions could not get anything going on the ground. Jahmyr Gibbs finished that game with numbers so ugly they looked like a typo. As the season stretched on, John Morton lost play calling duties, and Dan Campbell took them back. Hindsight says Morton was not the right hire. Context says the line collapse underneath him was never going to let any coordinator look good. Nobody gets clean numbers when the interior is this young and this rushed. The fix to that entire breakdown now sits with one new voice inside the building, and most of the league is still sleeping on what he brings to the table. Here's the take nobody wants to agree with. The play caller matters more than the quarterback. Watch what Jared Goff looked like with Ben Johnson calling plays for 3 straight years. Then watch what Jared Goff looked like without him. Same arm, same brain, same body. Completely different output. That is not a shot at Goff. That is proof of how much the system around a pocket passer controls the ceiling. Which is why the Drew Petzing hire is getting buried under the noise of everything else. This is the most important coaching move Detroit made this entire offseason. Ask around the league, and the same words come back on Petzing. Workhorse, detail-obsessed, grinder. Coaches and players talk about him the same way executives talk about the top offensive minds in football. His time as the Arizona Cardinals coordinator built him a menu that fits Detroit almost perfectly. Play action, run first identity, tight splits, power concepts, quick game timing that gets the ball out before the pocket breaks down. Every one of those ingredients is built for Jared Goff under center, Jahmyr Gibbs in the backfield, and a line that wants to punch people in the mouth again. An NFL executive survey circulating in the last few weeks summed it up. Detroit is well coached at the top. The only real question is what the coordinators bring. On defense, the answer is already easy. Kelvin Shepard got promoted from inside the staff, which means no learning curve, no new terminology, no reset for the players. Continuity on defense, brand new energy on offense. That is the coaching setup. Taylor Decker is gone. The largest single hole on the Detroit roster is not at corner. It is not on the edge. It is at tackle. Walk down the projected depth chart and it tells you everything. Larry Borum penciled in at left tackle, or Penei Sewell sliding over if they want to roll the dice that way. Christian Mahogany at left guard. Graham Glasgow or Cade Mays at center. Tate Ratledge at right guard. And either Larry Borum again, or a rookie holding down right tackle. That is a unit with too many question marks on a team trying to win a Super Bowl. Fix the tackle spot, and the entire offense changes shape. Jared Goff is not a mobile quarterback. Everyone knows that. He needs a clean pocket to do what he does best. Half a second longer in that pocket is the difference between a check down and a completed deep ball. Half a second longer is the difference between a sack and a first down on 3rd and 7. Half a second longer lets the receiver room win the route, lets the tight end cross the middle, lets the play develop the way it was designed on the whiteboard. One player lifts the other 10. The run game needs the same fix. Jahmyr Gibbs is built to explode through creases, not dance in the backfield looking for one. 3rd and 1 stops being a coin flip. 4th and 1 stops being a risk. Red zone carries start hitting again. This is a power identity offense at its core, and power identity offenses live and die on the line, which is exactly why Daniel Jeremiah keeps dropping the same name on air every time Detroit comes up in a mock draft conversation. And this front office has not done anything to push back on it. Daniel Jeremiah went on the record with something the draft world has been whispering about for weeks. He was told, directly, the Detroit Lions love Caden Proctor. His exact framing was sharper than that. Proctor is the floor at pick 17. Not an option. Not a backup plan. The floor. Meaning every mock draft exercise going forward should operate under the assumption that if Proctor is on the board, when Detroit picks, Detroit is turning in the card. That level of certainty from a source this plugged in is rare, this close to draft night. Caden Proctor fits every single checkbox Detroit scouts look for. Alabama program pedigree, the same pipeline that produced Brian Branch, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Jamison Williams. A 350-pound power frame that still moves like a much lighter man. Athleticism comparisons that put him in the same conversation with a young Penei Sewell. The weight is the conversation everyone wants to have, and the honest read is that dropping between 330 and 340 unlocks the rookie season most teams are projecting for him. His downhill blocking fits exactly what Drew Petzing wants to run. Here's the wrinkle. Cleveland loves him too. The Browns have been connected to Proctor as early as pick 6. If Cleveland jumps early, the fallback target becomes Monroe Freeling, out of Georgia. And this is where Detroit's information game gets interesting. Brad Holmes ran one of the quietest pre-draft circuits in the league this spring. Only 5 to 6 known formal visits total. Caleb Banks, on the defensive interior, was the one notable name on the list, likely a round 2 target. The rest got funneled into formal combine meetings, heavy on edge rushers and tight ends. Detroit is not telling anyone anything, which usually means the board is already set. Stack the tier 1 tackles up, and the picture gets clearer. Caden Proctor from Alabama, Monroe Freeling from Georgia, Spencer Fano from Utah, Francis Mauigoa from BYU. All 4 carry first-round grades from most boards around the league. The sleeper name the draft film community keeps pushing is Max Ihinokor out of Arizona State. His story is wild. Moved to the United States from Nigeria at 13. 4 to 5 years into playing football total. Senior Bowl standout, who barely lost a rep on day 2 or day 3. Length, power, balance, and a ceiling nobody has fully mapped yet. For Detroit specifically, that profile hits every note. Then there is the positional value curveball, Olaiva Vega Ioane out of Penn State. A guard, not a tackle, with some of the cleanest pass protection hands in the entire class. Even with Christian Mahogany locked in, the fit with Detroit is undeniable. That is the kind of pick that only makes sense if the board falls a specific way. More likely, Ioane is off the board before 17 anyway. Now the trade back conversation. Detroit only holds 2 picks inside the top 100. Dropping from 17 down to 23 or 25 brings back real mid-round capital without losing the tackle tier entirely. Blake Miller and Caleb Lomu both sit in that range. The Jermod McCoy debate at 17 is the one to watch closely. Elite corner talent, when healthy, but an ACL recovery and a missed 2025 college season make the value tricky for a team that needs day 1 contribution. And the reality check on round 2 tackles is brutal. Jennings Dunker from Iowa grades as a guard at the next level. The drop-off from round 1 to round 2 at pure tackle is a cliff, which is exactly why solving tackle in round 1 opens up the best part of Detroit's draft board. Locking a tackle at 17 and the edge board at pick 50 turns into a buffet. Aiden Hutchinson is still the anchor. Aleem McNeil is working back from injury. Tyleik Williams flashed real growth in the second half of his rookie year, and the second-year jump is coming. DJ Reader and Levi Onwuzurike round out the interior rotation. Marcus Davenport is gone. The gap sits on the edge opposite Hutchinson, and the names in that 50 range make too much sense to ignore. Derek Moore from Michigan with his speed to power profile. Jyshawn Barha, also from Michigan, pound for pound, one of the strongest edge rushers in the class. TJ Parker from Clemson. Zion Young. Kieron Crawford, Akeem Messidor from Miami, if he slides. The Keldrick Falk conversation at pick 17 is the one that keeps popping up in rumor circles. 6'6", 276 pounds. Elite run setter. The production issue is real though. 2 sacks on the year. Detroit needs a pass rusher who can win one-on-one, and tackle still sits higher on the board. Day 3 is where this front office usually strikes gold. Oscar Delp out of Georgia offers multi-alignment value at tight end. Trey Zune from Texas A and MBM projects cleanly to guard or center. Keyshawn Elliott at linebacker from Arizona fits the defensive identity. Jacob Burton from Kentucky brings guard and center versatility. Mason Rieger from Wisconsin has a long frame and a real pass rush toolkit for a day 3 flyer. This is the same front office that pulled Brian Branch in a spot nobody predicted. The board is never what the national guys think it is. 12 wins is the floor for this team. The NFC North stays loaded with Green Bay, Minnesota, and Chicago all climbing, and Detroit is still the team everyone is chasing. The worst year is already behind them. The fix lives at pick 17 and pick 50. The league will figure that out in about 9 days.